Let's see what's next on the agenda. Antagonist? Who orders the antagonist? I mean, am I supposed to make them easy to relate to? What's the main character even for then? With everything else I've got going on, this is too complex. Wait a minute, I know I have one in here somewhere. Here we go. One handcrafted antagonist for you. Handcrafted? Is this prepackaged? Did you just steal this from someone else and call it your own recipe? No. Well, yes. But who orders the antagonist? We're talking about the villain here. I mean, this guy's basically just a plot device to move things along. I don't know how you ever became a literary chef. I'm giving you 1 star on Yelp. Even though you're pet friendly and I was able to bring my dog. She hates it too. I'll never achieve my dream. If I get 1 star, I'll go under. I should have just cooked the recipe. Dad was right. 1 star on Yelp. My ass. Wait a second. Am I an antagonist? Hey Redding Gang. As you may have guessed, today we're going to cook up a delicious recipe for an antagonist in your story. If you've already seen my other videos about antagonists, you already know this. But the key thing to remember is that your antagonist is not a bad guy. In creating a stereotype character based on things you've already read and seen for your antagonist is just as bad as doing it for your protagonist or any character in your story. They should be unique, complex, and stand on their own as a character. They just happen to be against your protagonist. By the end of this video, you'll have an idea how to concoct a character who's well-rounded and complex, and propels your story, rather than just being a plot device. If you whip it up right, an antagonist can be an excellent, bittersweet addition to your writing recipe repertoire. By the way, if you're more into the cooking side of things, or you just really like the way this recipe looks, scroll all the way down in the description of this video and you'll find the actual recipe for the food I made. Without further ado, let's move on to the recipe. Now the first thing you're going to start with is 1 can, drained, of your antagonist's motivation or goal. You can rinse these too, if you're into that. I happen to prefer my antagonist juicy and unwashed. Raw, you know? Let's drain this. So, everyone does something for a reason. That's why motivation is the base of your antagonist recipe. Why does your antagonist do what they do? What's their endgame? To protect their kingdom? To find a cure for a deadly disease they have? To rise in the ranks of an organization no matter the cost? Whatever you choose to be your antagonist's motivation, this is going to dictate a huge portion of their character, and so, the flavor of this recipe. Next, you're going to add your antagonist's action plan. How are they going to achieve whatever it is they're after? This will actually help you build much of the plot of your story too. You're going to add about a ½ cup of an action plan to your antagonist. Now when I say action plan, I mean specifics. What exactly will your antagonist do in the story to get what it is they're after? No vagueness. For instance, if your antagonist is after the cure for their own terminal disease, what exactly will they do to achieve this? Will they purchase a pharmaceutical company? Will they become a researcher themselves? Perhaps kidnap a renowned scientist? Whatever it is the antagonist does, it should always be justified in their eyes. It's also a good idea to throw in a few action steps that happen to directly impede your protagonist from achieving their goal. This is how you facilitate organic conflict. Next, we're going to throw in a tablespoon of various obstacles. If you've already cooked up a protagonist with me, you're familiar with this one. That's right, folks. Your antagonist should appear as someone who has to work for their goals, just like everyone else. That means putting things in their way. You're going to put in about a tablespoon of various obstacles. It's wise to make one of these obstacles at least related to, if not directly be, your protagonist. This enhances, what? Organic conflict, people. This next ingredient is your antagonist's dedication to their goal. Vary the amount of this ingredient you add to command your antagonist's bitterness. Do they have doubts about their goal? Only add 1 tablespoon. Do they have ironclad dedication? Try 2. The more dedicated your antagonist is to their goal, the further they'll go to achieve this. This may mean flexing their moral code even further for what they see as the greater good. Speaking of which, let's add a tablespoon of some moral code. Your personal antagonist may call for a slight increase or decrease of this ingredient. Mine got a little bit extra. He or she has a strong moral code, maybe because they have some doubts about their goal. How willing your antagonist is to flex their moral code should directly relate to how dedicated they are to their goal. An antagonist with absolute surety about what he or she wants will find ways to justify means. An antagonist who wavers slightly in faith to their objective may withhold from harsher actions, wondering about the justifications for them. All too often, we see the antagonists shown as lone wolves. This makes them not only unrelatable, but unrealistic. No one becomes a leader or a person in any position of power without some support. So here's how we circumvent that. A half cup of personal connections. Now, we're gonna have them, because sometimes, to motivate someone, you have to cut a bitch. Tragic death of an antagonist's close friend who's actually pretty likable to the readers? Yeah, that could serve as some pretty relatable stuff. You might even find your readers associating with your antagonist a little bit. Hold on a sec. Doesn't that make your story more engaging? Huh. Well, while I'm at it, there go the wife and kids. Just kidding. Don't be that ruthless without good reason. There's no way the antagonist and protagonist will turn against each other without killing the wife and kids. A half cup. And here we go from sweet to sour. Now this is an optional ingredient. You only need to include it if your antagonist encounters a tipping point in the story where they do something morally questionable. This is the point at which your antagonist finally crosses the line and your readers go, "No, don't! We liked you!" So, if this is something that happens in your story, be sure to include 2 whole tablespoons of a tipping point. This is going to really add to the bitterness of your recipe. This last ingredient is going to add some texture and mellow flavor. This is going to be your antagonist's past experience. We're going to add a half a cup of past experience to the recipe, but you're going to want to make sure it's finely chopped so you can mix it in with everything else that your antagonist has going on. Protagonists, antagonists, side characters, even us, everyone has a past. And just like real people, a character's past helps dictate everything about them, at least in part. We're all defined, at least partially, by our experience. Experience should influence everything from their goal to how flexible their moral code is. Never underestimate the power of a good sprinkle of someone's past to help readers understand them. So once you have all your ingredients in the bowl, you're going to want to mix them up. Now, don't hesitate to really get in there and mash it together. Like all your characters, you want this recipe to be a cohesive marriage of the bitterness, the sweetness, the mellow flavors, the textures. It should all work together to form one cohesive character. When you're all done, make sure to spoon some out for yourself and give it a taste. Freaking delicious. 5 stars on Yelp. Antagonists are a unique dish because of all the marrying of different sorts of flavors. But it's always worth it to make one the right way for what it does for your story. Enjoy your antagonist over salad, in wraps, just by itself, or in the ground. Never forget when you serve your readers that each character is its own complex dish, not just a side of fries. And if you're wondering about side characters, just wait for some upcoming videos where I help you with interactive activities and recipes you build a side character's profile. Courtesy of my awesome subscriber, Jacqueline. If you like this video, check out my others. I've got writing recipes, interactive activities, writing sketch comedy, and travel videos. Subscribe and hit the bell icon to support more fun writing help. Roadside Writer, out.